Hey guys, it's Alex Rawlings with Alex Rawlings Music, and today we're gonna kind of start off a series of we're gonna start off a series of instructional videos for the guitar. These are really kind of just reference videos, but I'm gonna try and include as much important information as I can into helping you learn these techniques and use them in your playing as you practice and play. So this first video is going to be over the major and minor pentatonic scale. And so here's just a few reasons why we would want to start here. Being a guitar player, there's a lot of things that at first you're like, man, that sounds really difficult. You kind of like get this idea that you don't sound good. And that's a bummer because, that's kind of what discourages a lot of new players, I think. And so, starting with the pentatonic scale is a little bit easier than going straight into minor or major scales, because those scales, they take a little bit more practice and work to get the good sounds out of them, and those are good scales to start learning as soon as possible. But if you want to kind of reinforce your confidence in playing, you should start with the easier pentatonic scales. And again, they're easy to use and easy to improvise with. As soon as you get the scale down, you start practicing with different intervals and bending. You can apply this to all sorts of different types of music, like metal, rock, country, blues, even pop, maybe, if that's what you're into. But they're very easy to use and easy to improvise with. They're also, like I just said, they're broadly used in a ton of genres, and they're great for beginners. So, what I'm about to do is I'm going to grab my guitar, and I will start showing you how to use these in C major and A minor. And so, why are we doing two different scales? Well, every major scale has a minor, relative minor. And so C major's relative minor is A, and when we look at them on the fretboard, they're right next to each other. And so what we're going to reinforce here is you're going to learn two scales that have basically the same notes in them, but they're in a different spot. And as you practice these, start to put them together, and you'll be able to move between positions. Because the problem with learning just one scale at a time is that as you start to play it and stuff, you kind of get stuck in playing this in this box, and you don't know where you can go from there. It looks kind of boring, maybe. At least that's how I feel about it. That's how I've come to understand it, really. So we're learning these two because they're right next to each other. They have the same notes, they're the same key. We're not messing with any sharps or flats. C major is free of those. And then you're going to hear them next to each other, and you're going to be able to put them together eventually and be able to play between the two. And then here down the line, I will put out more pentatonic scales. In fact, I might do that after this, because once you know the notes, you can apply these to any mode in the major scale, and you have a pentatonic scale that can cover the entire fretboard. And that's kind of what you want to do anyway. And we'll start to get to that in a later video, but right now I'm just going to do major and minor, and give you an idea for that, see what it sounds like just playing it, see what it sounds like when you improvise with it, and see what it sounds like when you put the two together. Alright. Okay guys, so I've got my guitar set up, we got the amp on, effects, all that good stuff. So we're going to start with the A minor pentatonic, and we're starting with the minor because it's the lowest on the fretboard so far. We don't need the whole neck, so we're only covering two scales, and the lowest A on our 6th string or a low E string is at the 5th fret. So that's where we're going to start. So what's really nice about these scales, and there's only 5 notes. A, C, D, E, G, A. That's an octave right there. Of course, we're going to play it across all 6 strings, but there's only 5 notes to be concerned with, and so we call it, it's like a box scale, because, you know, we're really just making a box. There's nothing in between. There's just 2 notes per string. That's it. Super simple, very easy to learn, very easy to apply. So let's go ahead and I'll show you. We'll go an octave at a time, and really what we get here when we play across all 6 strings, we get about 2 octaves, 1 note. We get, you know, 2 of these. Those 2 start the 3rd octave that we get. But let's get past that. Let's start this. So we're starting at the 5th fret, which is our A. We're going to play the 8th fret on that 6th string, which is C. So that's A, C. Then, before we continue, I just want to point out that using your pinky in these situations is very helpful. That is a finger that you want to learn to apply. It's going to help you with reach. It's just a good finger just to kind of build up its strength and dexterity with, because it's, you know, having 4 is better than 3, and, you know, just good technique kind of requires you to be able to use that 4th finger quite a bit. So, you know, just a good idea to start practicing with it now. So anyway, as I was saying, A to C, 5 to 8. Then on the next string, our 5th string, or the A string, we're playing 5 to 7. So far we've got 5, 8, 5, 7. Then we are going to do another 5, 7 on our 4th string or the D string. And that's our first octave. So we're going A, C, D, E, G, A. That's the first octave of our pentatonic scale. You can see it sounds really good, and I'll break down a little bit of the theory of it once we get through this. So we've gotten through our first 3 strings, or, you know, since a lot of places where you look, this is the 6th string, 5th, and 4th. So let's talk about the 3rd string, which again, we bring back that 5, 7, which this would be C to D. Then on our 2nd string, or the B string, we've got E to G. And then on the 1st string, our E string, we have 5 to 8, or A to C. So you'll notice that A to C on the low E is the same as A to C on the high E. Just makes sense. They're both the same string. They would have the same notes in the same position. So to hear that all together, so that is our A minor pentatonic. So what makes this scale sound better than just playing your A minor? Well, we're skipping really just 2 notes that don't sound as good harmonically in the A minor scale, and that is B, having that major 2nd, and the F. Not really, they're good like leading notes. They help you get to parts of the chord that sound good, like the 3rd, which is C, the 5th, which is E, and the 7th, which is G. But really what we're playing is the root, the 3rd, the 5th, the 4th, the 7th, and of course the octave. Those are the tones that sound best, really, and that's why when you get to more advanced guitar playing and guitar instructors are like, yeah, well, you're playing all the good notes that sound good, but you're leaving out all the flavorful notes, and that's a topic for another time. So now we've got this, and you're practicing it. How do we apply it? Well, you want to start putting different intervals together. Bends. And this is a good opportunity for you to practice your bends, because you're going to bend a lot with the pentatonic scale. It's kind of where you get a lot of bluesy sounding stuff out of this. And when you bend, just bend up a whole step. When you bend up that D on your 3rd string, play the E on the 2nd string. Till they sound the same. That way you get practice bending in tune. And as you get farther into your guitar playing, you'll learn about the blue note, or the blues scale, where you can bend only a half step and it still sounds good. So, but to reiterate, anywhere else if you're gonna bend a whole step, make sure you play the note that you would be bending to. And you'll get into a good habit of practicing your bends as well. So you just heard me do some of that stuff. This is how you kind of add some flavor to the scale. Sure, you can just play the notes in different ascending or descending order, different intervals, but you also want to add a little bit of different flavor by bending. You want to maybe add some chromatic lines in there. Chromaticism in there. Sounds really good. It's excellent. Not a whole lot of really technical stuff you need to put in there to make it sound musical. So we've got our A minor pentatonic scale down. Let's take a second and look at the C major pentatonic. The difference is, and this is really the only difference, is we're starting on the C. We're playing the same notes, right? We got A, C, D, E, G, A. So if I play the first octave of the C major, we should have C, D, E, G, A, C. That's the entire first octave. Same notes, you're just starting at a different starting point. And of course, when you do that, you're kind of like, it's like giving it a different sound almost, which is great because that's what we want as guitar players, to have access to these different sounds. So I'll go ahead and let's run through this real quick. So we're going to start with our middle finger. Well, let me get there. Middle finger. And we're going to be using our pinky a lot in this one because we want to have our pointer finger ready to hit those minor third stretches. So we're starting at the 8th fret, which is C. Right? And then we're going to hit the 10th fret with our pinky. Alright, it's a little bit more difficult to see from that angle, isn't it? D. So we're going 8 to 10. On the next fret, we're going to do a minor third stretch, so we're going to go from 7 to 10, which is our E to G. So now we've got C, D, E, G. We're going to do the same thing on our 4th string, 7 to 10, which is A to C. What's really cool now is that we see an octave. Now, how I mentioned that those are octaves, well, there's an octave in between there, right? That's how we're going to kind of put things together, is knowing where that A minor falls in the C major pentatonic. And that's our first octave of the C major pentatonic, so let's keep moving there. So on the next string, we're going to do 7 to 9. Of course, use your ring finger, not your middle finger. You might want to start practicing using different fingers. I don't know. It's all preference at that point. Then we're going to go back to 8-10 on the B string, or the second string. So far we've got 8-10, 7-10, 7-10, 7-9, 8-10, and then this should be no surprise by now, but 8-10 is the next octave. So those are the two scales, right? So let's play them. I'll play the minor scale. Well, I'll play it right, actually. I missed a note there, but you get the idea. You can hear what it sounds like when you start on A. Now let's play the major pentatonic scale. Oh man. That's hearing them side by side. So now, like, in practicing, you want to take a metronome and start it at like 80, playing eighth notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and. Sorry, I'm just not counting right today, but that's the idea, is to play along to the beat and move in between them. Because what you can start to do now, put together some lines that move in between the two spots, and now instead of just playing like a playing like these box-shaped things, we can start to enlarge that box. And put together the two scales. So, you know, like, we're not just playing. We're putting them together, and we can do like a. You know. Where to apply these, though, right? So if you go onto YouTube, you can find backing tracks everywhere. There's so many different backing tracks. I've played backing tracks for days and still haven't gotten to the end of the backing tracks, you know. So we've got you can pick an A minor blues backing track and put the two together. Pick a C major track and still use the same two scales, because theoretically they're in the same key, therefore they have the same notes, and they can be used in the same and they can be applied in that. What's really neat, though, is that when you apply an A minor over a C major, you're getting a different tone as you would if you played A minor over A minor, or A minor pentatonic over A minor chord. And same thing if you were to play A minor if you were to play the C major over the A minor chord. So those are the scales. That's how it works. I'm going to bring it back up to my face to close this out. Okay guys, so that was the major and minor pentatonic scale. next week, I'll be putting up an open chords for C major, so that you've started learning the scale, you can start to learn some chords, and then you can start to jam and find some cool progressions, which I will show you in the next video. And keep a lookout for other pentatonic videos. I will do a video that combines the last, what are we missing? Dominant and we're missing dominant and Phrygian modes, which for pentatonic are very similar, and I'll post a video for those two as well, and then you'll be able to put them, and I'll put them together across whatever you know, I'll put them all together, and then you'll have like the whole fretboard of pentatonic scales to play. And remember, it's important that you practice with a metronome. At first they're pretty annoying, but eventually they become your best friend in music, because a person who can play in time is more valuable. You know, somebody who can play, you know, decent in time is better than somebody who played really good out of time. You know what I mean? That's kind of something that, you know, if you're joining a band or you're starting a band, is something that you're going to want to watch for, is people who play in time. And as long as you can play in time, you're good to go. So use a metronome. I can do a separate video on metronomes later. Those are, it's like I said, they're difficult to get along with at first, but once you as you start to understand the importance of using one and how they help you become a better player, you're going to be like, yeah, I need to just do this anyway. So I'll make a video on metronomes just to kind of cover that step. So, you know, go ahead and subscribe if you like this content. If you want more, shoot a comment down there about what you want me to talk about. I've got 10 plus years of experience, 4 of that being trained as a professional musician. So there's a lot of things I know about, there's a lot of things I can teach about. So if there's something specific you want, post it in the comments. Also hit that bell so that you get notifications, because if you're, you know, you're trying to become a better guitar player, you might as well get notifications about new things to learn, because that's one thing I miss, is having new things to learn. Anymore nowadays, it's like super complicated stuff. So it's exciting, it's fun, but it's not as fun as when I was beginning, you know. So that's what I've got. We'll see you guys next time.